Welcome to our International Student Brief Show. Today, we're diving into some exciting and concerning updates from around the globe. First up, the US is making some bold moves, restricting Chinese students' visas and threatening to cut funding for international education, which could have big impacts on American universities and innovation. But there's a twist. President Trump now seems to support Chinese students studying in the US, showing a complex dance of diplomacy and policy. Next, Canada is sounding the alarm as violence in the Middle East intensifies. Ottawa is urging Canadians to leave the region if they can, amid escalating conflicts between Israel and Iran. The situation is tense, and the government emphasizes safety and regional stability, reminding travelers to stay alert and prepared. Finally, the US and China are trying to patch things up with new trade agreements, including discussions on rare earth minerals and student visas. However, diplomatic tensions still linger, especially with recent restrictions on Chinese children's visas and the ongoing political game. These developments could reshape international education, trade, and diplomatic relations for years to come. Please continue to stay tuned for the full stories and more updates. The South China Morning Post vividly depicts the profound impact of President Trump's policies on international students, emphasizing the emotional and practical toll on talented individuals eager to pursue education in the United States. The article highlights how recent visa restrictions, especially targeting Chinese students and scholars, are not only unjust but also undermine America's reputation as a beacon of openness and opportunity. It narrates the story of Jason, a Chinese geology student, whose dreams of studying and contributing to American research are now clouded with uncertainty and fear. The article underscores that such policies threaten to stifle the flow of ideas, weaken research networks, and harm local economies dependent on international students, ultimately jeopardizing America's leadership in global education and innovation. The Globe and Mail's report paints a tense picture of the escalating Israel-Iran conflict, with Ottawa strongly advising Canadians to leave the Middle East amid rising hostilities. The article details recent military strikes, Israel targeting Iranian nuclear sites and Iran retaliating with missile attacks, and provides statistics on Canadian citizens in the region, urging them to prioritize safety and register with government services. It captures the urgency and gravity of the situation, emphasizing that the conflict's deepening could have devastating regional and global repercussions. The piece also highlights Canada's efforts to monitor the situation, protect its diplomatic personnel, and ensure the safety of its citizens, illustrating the precariousness of the current geopolitical landscape. The South China Morning Post further explores the consequences of U.S. restrictions on Chinese students and researchers, illustrating how these policies could backfire on American innovation and global competitiveness. It discusses how the U.S.'s aggressive visa scrutiny and national security concerns are fueling a potential brain drain, with talented Chinese scholars considering returning home or seeking opportunities elsewhere. The article presents a nuanced view of how China might respond by investing more in its domestic education and research infrastructure, thereby fostering self-reliance and possibly accelerating technological progress. Experts warn that these restrictive measures could weaken the U.S.'s scientific edge, diminish its appeal as a hub for international talent, and inadvertently benefit China's rise as a global leader in science and technology. The South China Morning Post vividly captures the complex and often contradictory stance President Donald Trump has taken towards Chinese students in the United States. Initially, Trump's administration had implemented stringent measures, including halting new student visa interviews and planning to revoke visas connected to the Chinese Communist Party, citing national security concerns. Yet, in a surprising turn, Trump publicly expressed strong support for Chinese students, emphasizing their importance for America's educational institutions and economic growth. He highlighted that these students contribute significantly to U.S. universities and the country's innovation, suggesting that their potential to stay and work in America should be protected. This shift in tone hints at a nuanced approach, recognizing the value of Chinese students amidst ongoing geopolitical tensions, even as Congress remains skeptical about Beijing's broader intentions, especially regarding technological espionage and military advancements. The South China Morning Post further explores the delicate dance of U.S.-China trade negotiations following recent talks in London. President Trump announced that an agreement was done, promising that China would export magnets and rare earth minerals, while the U.S. would facilitate Chinese students' access to American colleges and adjust tariffs. While some details, like export permits for rare earths, appeared promising, other sticking points such as restrictions on computer chips remained unresolved. Chinese officials, including Vice Premier He Lifeng, expressed a cautious optimism, emphasizing sincerity and a desire to maintain dialogue. The negotiations reflect an intricate balancing act, aiming to ease trade tensions and foster mutual trust, yet underlying tensions persist, especially given the strategic importance of critical technologies and resources. The narrative underscores the fragile nature of US-China relations, where diplomatic language masks underlying competition and strategic mistrust. Lastly, the South China Morning Post vividly illustrates the economic and institutional toll of Trump's crackdown on international students, particularly from China. The administration's aggressive policies have targeted elite universities like Harvard and Columbia, raising fears about the future of international education in the U.S. Despite Trump's public pronouncements that Chinese students are welcome, the reality for many colleges is dire. Their financial dependence on international tuition, especially from Chinese students, makes them vulnerable. For example, Missouri's University of Missouri relies heavily on international student tuition, which contributes over $1 billion to its economy, a figure that underscores how deeply intertwined these students are with local and national economies. Many Chinese students and their families are now reconsidering their plans, seeking alternatives in Hong Kong and the UK, reflecting a broader uncertainty that threatens the fabric of U.S. higher education and its global reputation. The situation reveals the stark contrast between political rhetoric and economic realities, as universities grapple with policy shifts that could reshape international academic mobility for years to come. The South China Morning Post reports a pivotal moment in Hong Kong's diplomatic outreach, where Chief Executive John Lee actively seeks to fortify relationships with the European Union. During a luncheon attended by the EU's Hong Kong office head and 15 consuls general, Lee articulated Hong Kong's strategic role as a superconnector, emphasizing its low taxes, world-class infrastructure, and multicultural talent as key assets that make it an ideal gateway between East and West. Despite global protectionism and ongoing US-China tensions, Lee reaffirmed Hong Kong's unwavering commitment to free trade, positioning the city as a resilient free port and a vital hub for international commerce. He highlighted the significant trade ties with the EU, which stood as Hong Kong's third-largest trading partner in 2023, and expressed optimism about deepening these collaborations, viewing them as a pathway to shared prosperity amid geopolitical uncertainties. The South China Morning Post also highlights recent developments in US-China relations, with President Donald Trump announcing a done deal between the two superpowers that could ease trade tensions. The agreement reportedly includes arrangements for Chinese rare earth exports and the attendance of Chinese students at U.S. universities, signaling a potential thaw after months of escalating tariffs and mutual accusations. Concurrently, China is pushing for the inclusion of its domestically produced C-919 aircraft in upcoming EU summit discussions, aiming to elevate its civil aviation industry on the international stage. Meanwhile, China's military advancements and regional security issues continue to dominate headlines, with accusations against Japan for missile tests and reports of China's efforts to integrate civilian technology into its defense sector, reflecting a complex landscape of strategic ambitions and geopolitical tensions. The South China Morning Post details the tightening U.S. visa policies targeting Chinese children, illustrating the growing frictions in U.S.-China relations. The U.S. Embassy in China has eliminated the interview waiver for visa applications under 14, requiring young applicants to appear in person with a parent, an inconvenient and potentially discouraging hurdle for families. Parents like Lily from Chengdu express frustration over the policy's inconsistency, as even infants are now expected to participate in interviews, complicating travel plans and deterring U.S. study tours for Chinese students. This move is viewed as part of broader U.S. efforts to scrutinize and restrict Chinese educational exchanges amid escalating diplomatic tensions, with the U.S. signaling a more hostile stance by threatening to revoke visas linked to the Chinese Communist Party and sensitive fields. The policy change underscores the deteriorating climate of trust and cooperation, affecting the aspirations of countless young students and their families seeking educational opportunities abroad. The South China Morning Post vividly illustrates how the United States risks undermining its soft power by alienating Chinese students, particularly those attending prestigious institutions like Harvard. Despite the recent legal battles and visa restrictions aimed at curbing Chinese influence, Harvard continues to serve as a vital bridge for U.S.-China relations. The university's deep-rooted connections with Chinese scholars and officials have historically fostered mutual understanding and informed U.S. policy towards China. Notable figures like Professor Ezra Vogel exemplify this diplomatic academic exchange, helping to shape perceptions and policies through research and high-level visits. Harvard's role in training Chinese officials in public governance and health exemplifies how educational ties can promote global collaboration and goodwill, even amidst political tensions. The article underscores that maintaining an open, welcoming stance for international students is essential for preserving America's influence, as ceding this soft power to other countries could have long-term strategic repercussions. The Independent reports on Donald Trump's proposed budget cuts to federal financial aid, specifically targeting Pell Grants, which are crucial for low-income students. The administration's plan to reduce the maximum Pell Grant from $7,395 to $5,710, coupled with stricter credit requirements, threatens to diminish access for over half of current recipients and completely disqualify about 10%. This move is part of a broader effort to offset the enormous costs of tax cuts, which have significantly increased the national deficit. The article highlights that Pell Grants, established in 1965, provide vital support to nearly 40% of undergraduates, many of whom attend community colleges. The proposed cuts could substantially raise student debt burdens and restrict opportunities for low-income students, potentially altering the landscape of higher education affordability in the U.S. The plan's wider implications include a shift in federal support that could reduce social mobility and widen educational inequalities. The Independent also details Ohio State University's groundbreaking initiative to make all incoming students bilingual in artificial intelligence, reflecting an urgent response to the pervasive influence of AI across industries. Starting in fall, students across all majors will learn to integrate AI into their fields, ensuring they are fluent in its application by graduation. This forward-thinking approach aims to prepare students not just to adapt to AI-driven changes but to lead in this evolving workforce. The program responds to the widespread reliance on AI tools like ChatGPT, which students increasingly use for assignments, often blurring the lines between innovation and academic integrity. Ohio State's initiative emphasizes responsible AI use and positions the university at the forefront of technological education, recognizing that AI literacy will be a fundamental skill in future careers. As AI transforms how we live and work, this bold educational move seeks to equip students with the necessary expertise to thrive in a rapidly changing world. The Sydney Morning Herald vividly illustrates the transformative power of Australian public schools, especially for international students like Lai Wan-on from Korea. In her homeland, education was a relentless pursuit of perfection, a high-stakes race where survival depended on academic excellence. Moving to Sydney, she found a refreshing change, an environment that offers space to breathe, where diversity and acceptance foster a nurturing atmosphere. However, this haven is increasingly strained as Sydney's public schools tighten their international enrollment policies due to capacity limits and a shift in priorities to serve local students first. Despite these restrictions, international students continue to enrich classrooms academically and culturally, often elevating the overall academic standards. The article also highlights the challenges faced by families in securing homestay placements amidst a rising demand for international education and the high costs associated with it. Many parents view Australian schools as a strategic pathway to prestigious universities, appreciating the balanced approach to education that contrasts sharply with the intense pressure back home. Yet, the limited capacity and strict catchment zones in popular areas like Burwood and Strathfield make placement difficult, illustrating the growing competition and logistical hurdles faced by international students and their families seeking quality education in Sydney. The South China Morning Post offers a detailed account of the uncertainties surrounding U.S. university admissions for Hong Kong students amid political and diplomatic tensions. The report underscores the importance of social media scrutiny in visa applications, with students advised to review their online presence to avoid political sensitivities that could jeopardize their chances. Recent conflicting directives from the U.S. State Department, initially halting visa processing for Harvard students, then allowing it after diplomatic negotiations, highlight the unpredictable landscape international students must navigate. Despite the chaos, students who have secured visas are encouraged to proceed, especially those admitted to Ivy League schools, as the opportunity remains valuable. Meanwhile, institutions like the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology remain adaptable, ready to support students through changing circumstances. The report emphasizes that the ongoing diplomatic disputes have caused a decline in U.S.-bound student visas from Hong Kong, prompting many to consider alternative countries for their studies. Experts warn that the political climate has introduced significant uncertainty, urging students to act swiftly if they wish to seize opportunities in the U.S., while also contemplating other destinations amidst the shifting global education landscape. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spin, walls come down, voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd, broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen, every link a different theme, words collide in the stream, 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than us. Hear the voices rise aloft, truth unveils in every spot, cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a strobe, every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code, journalists dig real deep, secrets out, they don't sleep, every